What is up everybody and welcome back to the Maths Guy. Today we're looking at how to solve one-step equations that involve multiplication and negative numbers. Let's jump into it. Okay, so our golden rule today, or the thing to remember, is that we're going to try to isolate the variable by using the inverse. So what is the variable? Well, the variable is this unknown value just here, represented by an x. And if we read our whole equation, we have negative 4x equals negative 36. So because we have this value connected to our variable with no symbol between it, we know that we must use multiplication. So negative 4x means negative 4 times x. But like we say, our variable at the moment is connected to this value. So we need to break that connection somehow. And the only way we can break this connection is by using the inverse. So like we said, our negative 4 times x at the moment is using multiplication. So what's the inverse of multiplication? Division. So if we have negative 4 times x on this side, to cancel the negative 4, I would have to divide by negative 4 as well. But what I've done now is I've made an imbalanced equation. Now this left-hand side is not equal to the right-hand side because I've inputted this divide by negative 4. So to keep it balanced, I would have to divide by negative 4 on the right-hand side too. Now I have a balanced equation again, and I can begin to solve. So looking at the left-hand side first of all, negative 4x divided by negative 4, well, the multiplication and the division cancel themselves out, because negative 4 divided by negative 4 would leave me with 1x, or therefore just x. So I have x equals, and then on the other side, negative 36 divide by negative 4. Well, when we divide two negatives, we end up with a positive. So we can, for a moment, just think of it as 36 divided by 4, which would be 9. And knowing that two negatives divided by each other means that we would end up with a positive. So our answer is x equals 9. Now I can double check that by starting the equation again, but putting 9 instead of my x. Negative 4 times 9 equals negative 36. So let's now begin to solve. And negative 4 times 9 equals negative 36. And negative 36 obviously equals negative 36. Therefore, our equation and our answer works. Okay, let's have a look at the second example. This time our value on the left-hand side is not negative, it's positive, but the value that's connected to our variable is negative. So my equation reads 81 equals negative 7b. And remember, this negative 7b means negative 7 times b. So how do I get rid of a times negative 7? Well, that's right, I'd have to divide by negative 7 as well. But remember, that means that this side is now imbalanced. So I must now put a divide by negative 7 on the other side too. Now I can begin to solve. Let's look at the right hand side first of all. Well, the multiply by negative 7 and the divide by negative 7 cancel each other out, leave me with just b. Now I can look at the left hand side, and when we're dividing a positive number by a negative, we would still get a negative. So in this case, 81 divided by negative 7 equals 11.5. But like we said, it's negative, so we have negative 11.5. So my answer is negative 11.5 equals b, or to write it with the variable at the start, b equals 11.5. And there we go. Let's look at things to remember. Our first step is to isolate the variable by cancelling out the number it's connected to using the inverse. When multiplying a negative and a negative, we end up with a positive, but when multiplying a negative with a positive, we end up with a negative. And there we go. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. If it has, think about subscribing to the channel. Share this video with someone that you think would also need this little bit of help. But for now, I'm going to see you in another video. Peace out. What is up everybody and welcome back to the Maths Guy. Today we're looking at how to solve one-step equations involving division and negative numbers. So first of all, let's look at what to remember. We need to isolate the variable by using the inverse. And our variable is just represented with this letter to show our unknown value. Okay, so let's have a look at question 1. We can see we have v divided by 6, or v over 6, equals negative 5. So we want to isolate this variable and get it on its own. Well, how are we going to isolate this variable? Well, we're going to look at what it's connected to, and then we're going to use the inverse operation to cancel it out. So at the moment it's connected to this divide by 6. So if we're going to use the inverse of division, we're going to use multiplication to cancel out this divide by 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a times 6, and then we would have our v over 6 equals negative 5. However, because we've just added a times 6 on one side, we are going to need to add multiply by 6 on the other side so that we keep our equation balanced. Because if we didn't, then our equation would be imbalanced or non-equivalent. And we need to keep it equivalent to make sure we are keeping the equation fair. Now I can begin to solve, and I can see I have a times 6 and a divide 6 on the same side, this left-hand side, so I can cancel those two out, leaving me with just one v, so I can just represent that with v. V equals negative 5 times 6. And when we multiply a negative by a whole number, we will end up with a larger negative. So negative 5 times 6 will turn into negative 30. Therefore, v equals negative 30. Let's double check that by inputting negative 30 in place of our v, just to check we've got the right answer. So negative 30 divided by 6 equals negative 5. Let's check that. Well, negative 30 divided by 6 means that we're going to be coming positively up our number line. So negative 30 divided by 6 equals negative 5. And therefore, negative 5 equals negative 5. Good, got that one correct. Okay, question 2. Question 2, we have negative 4 equals t over negative 8. So our first task is to identify the variable. Here it is. And notice that it's connected to this negative 8 division. So how can we get this negative 8 to disappear? Well, we're going to have to put a times negative 8 on that side of the equation. But if we do that to one side, we need to times the other side by negative 8 as well. So let's rewrite our equation. We have negative 8 times negative 4 equals t over negative 8 times negative 8. And now I can begin to solve because I can see that this divide by negative 8 and times by negative 8 on this side leaves me with just t on its own. And what equals t? Well, negative 8 times negative 4. And when we multiply two negative numbers together, we end up with getting positive. We can back up the number line. So therefore, negative 8 times negative 4 equals 32. So 32 equals t, or in other words, t equals 32. There we go. Cool, let's look at what to remember. First, we need to isolate the variable by cancelling out the number that it's connected to. And we do that by using the inverse. When multiplying a negative and a negative, we will end up with a positive. And when multiplying a negative with a positive, we'll end up getting a negative. If you're unsure about negative numbers and how they interact with each other, I have a negative numbers video that specifically talks all about that, so check that out if you need to. Okay, and there we go. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. Find a friend that you think is going to benefit from this and share this video with them to help them. But for now, guys, I'm going to see you in another video. Peace out.